Hey folks, Crossflux and Broken Ideas, back with another look at the highly anticipated Biomorph. If you've seen our first video on the public demo, then you know that we really loved what we played. Since then, the developers at Lucid Dreams have been hard at work bringing the game to life. We've had the opportunity to play a new extended demo. So, have our thoughts changed, or simply been reinforced? Stay tuned to find out.
If you couldn't tell from the footage on screen, Biomorph is a 2D metroidvania, and it would seem the developers have not only taken inspiration from old school games like Super Metroid and Symphony of the Night, but also from modern games like Hollow Knight and Ori. We're not going to go into extreme detail about what the gameplay is like, since we've already gone over that in our first video, but instead we will just be focusing on the new content. First, the game feels just as smooth and responsive as in the original demo. When you jump, Harlow jumps. When you stop pressing a direction, he'll stop immediately, and your control in the air is just as snappy as it is on the ground. I have noticed that a few powers are limited in this demo compared to the first, which I suppose makes sense since this is a longer experience. It's a little over an hour in length, I believe. And so I believe the developers were trying to get across what the sense of progression in the real full game will be like.
I will say though that controller is recommended when playing this game. Not just for the game itself, but more so for navigating the menus. The developers have mentioned that this issue should be fixed in the full game, but for the demo, when one rebinds the keyboard controls, it doesn't quite work right. So there are times where context-sensitive commands will get in the way of moving around. It also makes me take about 10 times longer to equip new chips and to view the map than it otherwise should. Regardless, even in the main gameplay loop of exploring levels and fighting, I really feel like controller is the more intuitive way to play. But of course, this is just a personal thing. This is neither a positive or negative thing, just simply something I thought of while I was playing. As for the difficulty, well, unlike the first demo, this one actually has a bit of a bite to it. The first boss is still a damage sponge since it's completely unchanged, but once you get to the new areas, you actually have to be careful and plan your progress. I died plenty of times. Speaking of dying, I really don't think the Dark Souls / Hollow Knight mechanic of leaving behind your money when you die is a good idea. It makes me think of how older platformer games had the limited lives system. The gaming industry collectively agreed that it was an outdated mechanic, and I feel the same way about this death mechanic. Losing all your money on death is just too punishing, especially when you need all the money you can to upgrade your chips and things. It just makes the game more tedious. If you have a ton of money that you haven't spent yet, then you get stressed because you don't want to die and lose it all. I get what the idea is supposed to be, go back to where you were and get it back. But if I explore too far ahead and am in over my head, then when I die I may not be able to make it back, so then I just get punished for trying to make progress. This mechanic simply limits player choice. After I die, I can't just decide to explore somewhere else, I would forfeit all my money. So my suggestion is, don't necessarily take this mechanic out, but make it a toggleable option in the menu, or simply lock to starting a new game.
One complaint I thought I would have would be the lack of fast travel. Normally it's pretty quick to get around, but after scouring through the levels for secrets you miss, you begin to wish there had been a way to quickly fast travel between save points. And then we completed a side quest which lets you do just that, so hey, that's nice. Also shows how good the pacing is. I spent just enough time walking by foot to truly appreciate it when the devs do give me the option to fast travel.
A few other complaints that I have are that the colors are a little too gray and hard to see. I keep bumping into those blue shadowy enemy types because I simply don't see them at all. Also, it's hard sometimes to distinguish foreground and background elements, especially in Blightmoor, the main hub of the demo. It's hard to tell what I can jump on and what's simply part of the background for aesthetics.
Related to this, I feel the hitboxes on both enemies and Harlow are a little bit off. Sometimes I really thought I didn't touch anything, yet I still got hit. Otherwise, I think I'm close enough to land a punch on an enemy, but fail to make contact and do any damage at all. There's not a lot of feedback on getting hit, and although the UI is really clean, I think it doesn't stand out quite enough. It's hard for me to get a feel of how much HP I have, so I end up dying a lot more often than I should.
Some of the chips that you obtain through the demo could use a little more flexibility, like the spear one immediately comes to mind. I get that this is probably just a heavy attack. It's designed to deal a little extra damage, but I think being able to aim it up or down like the standard punches wouldn't have broken anything. Also, you're kind of locked into the animation once you start it, so it'd be nice to be able to cancel out of it somehow.
The pogo attack should deal more damage to enemies, and in general, I think they should have a little less health. It just takes a little too long to beat them, and it's not hard, it just takes a while. So you're just spending a lot of time hitting them over and over again when you could take them out in 2 to 3 hits and just move on. There really aren't too many glitches in the game, other than the occasional one like phasing through certain platforms or breaking a boss, and the aforementioned menu keyboard controls. Game runs really well. I'm not really sure what else to say. If you like Metroidvanias, then you'll probably love this.
If you don't like Metroidvanias, though, there's still a chance you'll like this. It has a bit of a casual feel to it with the Kirby-esque copy abilities. Speaking of, one of the only things that I was worried about concerning the Biomorph powers from the original demo was that I was afraid they'd be a little too gimmicky, something the Kirby powers can sometimes be. I was afraid the Biomorphs would be primarily used to solve a particular puzzle or be a key that unlocks a path forward. But if the rest of the game is to be like this newer demo, then my fears have been assuaged. Although the individual powers do sometimes feel like keys in the sense that some abilities are seemingly the only way to break certain blocks that Harlow can't on his own, it seems that once you've used an ability a certain number of times, you gain the ability to biomorph into that creature permanently whenever you wish. So basically, these temporary power-ups can be upgraded to becoming permanent, making them a key arsenal element. I know we've sounded fairly negative towards the end here, but these are just small issues that can be easily smoothed out during the polishing process. That's kind of the point of these iterative demos, to work through things like this. The core game is very solid, and overall we're quite pleased with Biomorph.
And yeah, I think that's all we really have to say about this game. The new demo is a vertical slice and gives us a better feel for what it's going to actually be like. We're super excited, and this is absolutely one of our most anticipated games. If Biomorph interests you, please show Lucid Dreams some support by wishlisting the game on Steam and giving them a follow. This sort of stuff is really helpful for younger indie studios so they can get their projects off the ground. Until next time, have a blessed day.